WCLN 1170 Radio and Starvision Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. Star Communications, Channel 16. If you're listening to us on the radio, WCLN 1170 out of Clinton, North Carolina. Reprint of this program, a summation of Sampson Weekly newspaper. I want to thank you for your comments from our week ago. Our show was very detailed commentary on that show. And again, thank you for emailing us at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. Today, have another show I think is going to be very interesting for you, certainly for me, in doing a little bit of research on this, something called Senior Games, and we have with us Tracy Davis. Tracy, want to kind of give you a little time to talk about who you are and how you got into this, and of course, Linda Combs. Linda, I think probably a lot of people in Clinton, I can say the name of Linda Combs, and they pretty much know who you are in this area. Worked with the community college here, retired. Your husband, a good friend of everybody's, Tommy Combs, still live in Clinton, and we thank so much of you, and I certainly enjoyed working with you for probably 30 plus years at college, so thank you for being with us. Tracy, how did you get involved with being this Mid-Carolina Council coordinator and the titles and so forth you got? I mean, obviously, I'm looking at you, you don't fit the profile of a senior by chance, but tell us how you got into that and what you do.
Well, my background is in Parks and Recreation. I went to UNCW and majored in Parks and Recreation, and I did work in Parks and Recreation to start with, but in 2000 I did come to Mid-Carolina Council of Governments, working under Area Agency on Aging, and I became their Senior Games Coordinator. And I have been there for 15 years now. And this year we're celebrating our 30th anniversary Mid-Carolina Senior Games, and I'm proud to say that I've been there for half of them.
You know, it's interesting, when I looked at your bio, and I noticed also that you're the North Carolina Senior Games chair of the local Coordinators Association. I mean, you've really seen this from a state level as well when we talk about Senior Games. Linda, one of the things that struck me when you and I talked on the phone about Senior Games, I started thinking, wonder how many people knows about this. And as I started looking at some research and looking at North Carolina particularly, I was kind of blown away at the numbers of folks, over 60,000 participants. I mean, that's pretty much the population of Sampson County. So when you think about it, that's huge. How did you kind of get attracted to this, Linda?
Well, I played a little bit of basketball when I was in high school, and then I attended a community college, and they found out that I had played some basketball in high school, and they asked me to come, and so I played on a team there. Mm-hmm. And when we came to Clinton, I learned about the basketball team. Fred Holland is the coach, and Alice Mathis is the captain of the team. And so I started playing with them, and I guess 15 or more years I've been playing on that team. And in addition to that, I participate in some of the other games as well. I have played tennis in the Senior Games, and I always go to the opening ceremonies, and after the opening ceremonies they have little individual events that they have, and they have something called a fun walk, and I participate in. It's just a lot of fun, and it's just been great. Good friends, making good friends, wonderful way to make good friends.
I can imagine you meet people all over the state at these
Well, we
kinds
do
of
at the state games.
Yeah.
Every year that we have played basketball, we have actually gone to the state finals. Mm-hmm. And we always meet new people up there. And we've also done well enough at the state level that we've been to 3 of the national senior games. Mm. And that's a huge event. And so it's really a great thing. And I would encourage anyone, because it keeps you active and helps you to have good health.
Absolutely.
So it's just a wonderful experience.
Tracy, let's kind of back up to maybe the 20,000 foot level and look at that national level thing. Does each state have a senior game, or is this an optional kind of thing?
It is optional, but the majority of the states do have a game for seniors. And the National Senior Olympics are held every other year. And in 2017, they're going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. So they're bringing them back down south.
Oh, great.
So hopefully we'll have some of our local participants be able to go. But you do have to start at the local level to be able to get to nationals. There are 53 local games in the state of North Carolina, and those 53 games cover all 100 counties in North Carolina. So no matter what county you're in, there is a local game that serves you. And you can go to the North Carolina Senior Games website and find out which local game you should register for.
And to that point, I want to give a website out here. It's www. Of course, ncseniorgames.org/. That takes you to the website.
Yes.
You can find a lot of the information we're going to be talking about today. And fortunate or unfortunate, a lot of folks don't necessarily go to the internet to look up stuff, so we want to make sure they get the message today. When you look at the national level and the kinds of competition, from what I've read, there's some really strong athletes that are, quote, referred to as seniors, especially on the national level.
It does start at age 50 and goes all the way up to 100 plus. But again, you know, to get to nationals, you have to start local. And we have different age groups, and they start at age 50 to 54, 55 to 59, all the way up through 100. And each of the local games is a qualifying site for the North Carolina Senior Games. So all the local games are held in the spring, and then the people who win medals, that's how they qualify. So if they win a medal in that event in their age group, that qualifies them to go to the North Carolina Senior Games. And the North Carolina Senior Games are held in the fall of each year. And then every other year at state finals is a national qualifying year for the National Senior Olympics. And they also have to medal at state finals in order to be able to qualify to go to the nationals.
And then what I hear you saying is this is a very structured organization that has rules, responsibilities. It's just not some folks getting together and doing certain things. There's directions, there's expectations. Linda, I noticed that the shirt you have on, it says Senior Games Ambassador. Tell us what that means.
That tells you that's why I got in touch with you, because my job is to help promote the Senior Games and to encourage people to participate. And it's just a wonderful way, you know, to really be active and make new friends. And we certainly would love to have more people from Sampson County participate. Our older ladies basketball team actually won the nationals how many times?
Four?
If they didn't win, they placed. So they did.
I think they've
just
medaled
great.
3 or 4 times at the national level, the Hoopers, the Sampson County Hoopers.
And Barbara.
And that's the team you play on, is it?
No,
It's the older.
it's an older team. They have disbanded now
Wow.
because of, you know, they've just aged to the point some of them's health is not well enough for them to play. But Barbara Carr, she's gone and competed at the national level, and I think she's placed also.
She's a swimmer, and she has placed. She has gotten medals at the national level.
So we've had I think Thea Smith, she's another one that always wins at the state level in swimming, and she does. She's
been
done
to
really
nationals
well.
as well.
Right. So it's kind of an honor to be able to go to the
I would
nationals.
think so.
And you meet some tough people out there. But
would-
you might be interested to know that Pat Boone participates in the Senior Games. In fact, we had our picture made with him when we went to was it Louisville or
Kentucky.
yeah. Anyway, he was there. He plays on a basketball team.
Now there's a name folks can recognize.
Yes.
Pat Boone.
And he looks the same.
Unbelievable. But you know, Trace, when I look at it, and I look at, you know, and we're like at Mid-Carolina Council of Governments, which represents what, 3 counties?
Yes.
And that's Sampson, Cumberland,
And Harnett.
And Harnett. Do you get support both financially and people from each county? How does that work? Where does your financial support come from?
Well, we do get some funding through our legislation, and that trickles down through the North Carolina Senior Games. The funding actually goes to them, and we receive some of it locally. But we also do charge registration fees to help offset some of our costs, and we have asked. Now, it's different at each local game, but for us, we've asked our 3 counties to contribute funding so that we can, as a region, can continue to offer it to the 3-county area. But each local game is a little different.
Linda, when you think about the availability of this, what do you see as impediments of getting more people involved? I mean, oftentimes if you speak to someone, do they say, well, I just don't have time, I don't feel like it, I don't want to spend, I mean, what kind of, or do you get pushback? Once you explain it to folks, are they pretty open to participating?
I think sometimes the ones that are just maybe wanting to participate in one particular event, they might, when they find out there is an entry fee, that might put them off a little bit. But of course, we don't mind doing it, and I think, I don't know, they seem interested when you're talking with them about it, and people are just so busy nowadays. I think maybe sometimes they feel like they don't have time for it. But I think once they participate, they'll want to do it again.
And I want to talk about that a bit.
I think sometimes people are afraid to try new things. And once we get them, they have fun and they keep coming back. But it's just the getting them. And Linda being an ambassador and other ambassadors, I mean, they actually, she was trained at North Carolina Senior Games, actually trained her to be an ambassador and gave her skills to help promote our local game in the community. And to encourage, you know, her peers to come on board and participate in the local games. And she does a wonderful job in recruiting and getting people. But I think that that's the major thing, that people are sometimes kind of afraid to try new things, and they think that they might not be good enough.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and I want to talk a little bit more about that entry fee and how you get involved. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching We Should Know, Star Communications Channel 16. And WCLN Radio. We'll be back in a moment.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. If you just happen to be turning your radio and you're on WCLN, you're driving down the road, you're listening to us on 1170 AM out of Clinton, North Carolina. Also, you can go to that radio station and click on the little icon. If you happen to be in Japan or Korea or Jerusalem, wherever you may be, you can pick us up on the internet. You can also listen to us there. Also, we're coming to you from Star Communications, Channel 16, each and every week on Tuesdays, 2:30 to 3:30. I want to give a shout out today to Chris Sessoms and Helping Hands right here in Clinton, Sampson County for doing a tremendous job saluting the emergency responders in this area for the outstanding and wonderful job they do. This Saturday there's a big event at the Civic Center. Shout out to all those volunteers and Chris Sessoms for that effort to salute our volunteers. We're talking today with Tracy Davis. She's a coordinator for the Senior Games from Mid-Carolina. Is it called Mid-Carolina Council of Governments or just Mid-Carolina?
Mid-Carolina Council of Governments.
Mid-Carolina Council of Governments. And Linda Combs, who is an ambassador. I like that title for some reason. Linda's a good friend. I retired from community college and I've known her for years, and also folks may also know Tommy, your husband, who was city manager here for quite a few years back during the era when we had a mayor by the name of Emsley Kennedy. A great mayor. So we were talking as we went off air about the Senior Games, and Linda, I think you brought this up. The approaching people, sometimes the pushback is on the registration fee. There's a fee involved. Talk about that fee, and I believe, Tracy, you mentioned that it may be different in whichever one of the 53 local areas. How do you come up with the fee? How much is the fee? Either one of you.
I really don't know how they come up with the fee. Tracy will have to speak to that.
Each local game is different, and they kind of set their own fee. We do include a t-shirt with registration and medals. So we charge a $10 fee early bird, and regular registration's $15. And we are also an open game, which means we accept anyone in the state of North Carolina. So if you're a resident within 3 consecutive months of North Carolina, then you can come and participate in our game because we're open. But if you're not in our 3 counties, Cumberland, Harnett, or Sampson, you pay a $20 registration fee. And you can register online. This year's the first year we've been able to offer online registration. And if you do it online, we save you $1. Okay. So right now we're in our normal registration period. So if you register online, it's $14 and $15 with paper registration.
So 2 or 3 key things you mentioned there is one, being a North Carolina resident is important. You must be a North Carolina resident.
Yes.
Number 2, you can register anywhere in any one of the local games. You don't have to be in that region.
Not all games are open games.
Okay.
Mid-Carolina Senior Games is an open game. Each local game can determine whether they're an open or closed game.
So some of the other 52 may or may not be,
right.
And you don't know which ones are or which one are not, but if they could go to the website, contact them and find out.
Right, they can go to the North Carolina Senior Games website and look and see which local games are open and which ones are not.
Linda, excuse me, go ahead.
To be a state participant of North Carolina Senior Games, that is the requirement for the state, is that you're a North Carolina resident for at least 3 consecutive months out of the year.
Linda, back to your observation earlier, and as we talked off air, that really doesn't seem like that should be a big inhibitor for somebody to get involved. $10 or $15 registration fee seems to be relatively reasonable, I would think.
I think it's fairly reasonable, and none of the group that I associate with in the senior game seem to have any problems with it. But I guess it maybe those people that are on limited incomes and what have you, they might it might be more of a hardship for them.
As we talk about this, Tracy, I know we're looking at this is Tuesday, so the deadline of registration, they actually need to now, simply because we're coming up to the deadline for registration, they need to look at online. So let's talk about this online part. I gave them the state website, and on that website, which is again ncseniorgames.org for North Carolina, you can find on there the local areas and all of this information. But talk about a bit what they can do and how they can register online so they can feel comfortable with it. Because Linda, what I want to do is for those folks that may be not savvy, they can look at maybe their 12-year-old grandchild and say, look, go register me for this and here's where you go. So let's kind of make it easy for folks.
Well, tomorrow is our deadline. March 16th is our deadline, so you have to get those registration forms in before the 16th. So at this point, online registration would be best unless you're going to bring it to my office in Fayetteville. But you can register online at torch.ncseniorgames.org.
Okay, let's say that again now.
torch.ncseniorgames.org. And
ncseniorgame.org.
And it's a fairly easy process. And if you're looking for our local games, you'll need to register. You can register for any of the 53 local games online. But if you're looking for us, you need to check Mid-Carolina Senior Games.
Linda, your involvement with the games and being playing basketball and those kinds of things, I know you've met a lot of people. As you come together for the state and look at possibly going to the national, is that a process? Obviously you have your travel involved and may or may not have an overnight expense and that kind of thing. What have you found to be the most rewarding for you being involved?
Just playing the games. And the people are just wonderful.
I mean, do you have like big audiences that show up that watch the game, or is it just a small group, or is it primarily just the game itself?
I think we have a pretty good turnout for the opening ceremonies, don't you, Tracy?
Yes.
Here for Mid-Carolina, there's a lot of participation and fun things to do. After the opening ceremonies, they have these little individual events like softball throw, football throw, the fun walk, long and short jumps. What do you call fishing? Help me.
Spin casting.
Spin casting.
Discus, shot put.
Yeah. So
really?
you can do all of that in the one day that after you finish with the opening ceremonies. So I would encourage anyone. And also, you know, haven't spoken much about the Silver Arts, but the Silver Arts deadline is also March 16th. But on the day of the opening ceremonies, they have all of the winners, whatever they have submitted to be judged. The winners are, what would you call it?
Displayed.
Yeah, the winners, whatever it is they entered, they display it there at the Pope Air Force Base at the fitness center. And it's real fun to go back there and see what they have done. I would certainly love to see more people from Sampson County enter the Silver Arts. We have, you know, that we've got so many talented people in all areas.
Absolutely.
And right now you can go down to the small house and see some of the things that people have done. So we would love to have people to enter something in the Silver Arts, and it has to be something that they have completed within the last 2 years. But I would certainly encourage them to do that. And if you don't have time to do it for this year, think about next year. Go ahead and start getting ready for next year.
When you say Silver Arts, you're talking oil paintings, kind of give folks a visual.
Can I expand
Sure,
a little bit on
please.
that? With
Yeah.
our Silver Arts, we do have 4 different categories. We have the visual arts, which include things like painting, sculpture, it can be oil painting, it can be watercolor or acrylics. Photography falls into the visual arts. So anything like that can be submitted under the visual arts. We also have the literary arts, which include poems, essays, short stories, life experiences. And then we have the heritage arts, which has many subcategories under the heritage arts: quilting, woodworking, needlework, crocheting, knitting, macrame. All of that type of stuff falls under our heritage arts. And then our other final category is the performing arts. So we do have our dancers and performers, people who do comedy or drama skits. So our biggest day with our senior games this year are April 6th through the 25th. And our opening day is out at Pope Airfield on April 6th. And Linda was mentioning some things that we include on that day. We do have our very nice opening ceremonies. We have our fun walk that day. All of our field events are out on Pope Field. We do have basketball shooting, racquetball indoors, and all of our visual heritage and literary art will be on display, and the winners will have their ribbons or medals attached. And we also have a health fair in conjunction with our opening ceremonies. So that will also be included in our opening day events. And our performing arts will be at J.D. Fuller Recreation Center on April 21st. And that's a great outing. If people want to come to be entertained, come out to J.D. Fuller on April 21st at 2 p.m. And it's a free show. And you'll get 2 hours of great entertainment from our seniors.
And we're talking anything from music to dance, any art form that is basically imaginable.
People can play the piano or any other type of instrument. We have line dancers, group dancers, we have soloists, we have vocal groups, we have cheerleaders sometimes will come and be a part of the performance. So it's a big show, and then we can only choose one winner per local game. So the best in show from each local game qualifies to go to North Carolina Senior Games and participate in the North Carolina Silver Arts Follies in the fall. Now, unfortunately, the Silver Arts is not a national event. It's something North Carolina recognizes, because we feel that it is important not just to keep your body fit, but your mind fit as well as you age. And Senior Games is a health promotion program for seniors age 50 and older, and we want to make sure that we're able to get both our athletes and artists.
We're going to take another break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Linda Combs. We're talking with Tracy Davis. We're talking about Senior Games right here in North Carolina, in particular Clinton, Sampson County.
Whether it's video, voice, internet, or cellular, Star Communications connects you to the things you love. It's what we do and have done for over 50 years. Star Communications, your local technology company.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on air. We want to thank all of those folks down at the radio station that mentions us each and every week. I'll start out with the morning show with L-Man, Grandpa, Nolan Z, and early in the morning, early in the morning. Sometimes folks don't get up that early to hear them, so when the radio station first comes on in the afternoon, Tommy the Fly, the lunch hour, Wayne Weeks with the Gospel Hour, also a very popular program, Nicole Does the Country Store, each and every week, and Robert Stroud, Saturday afternoon with the Boogie Shoes Radio Network. Robert, we appreciate you mentioning We Should Know and the program we have today. We're talking again about senior games, and we're talking with Tracy Davis, who is the coordinator for that with Mid-Carolina Council of Governments, and Linda Combs, who is an ambassador for the games. As we went off air, ladies, we were talking about that Silver Arts piece, and it triggered a lot of conversation on break, I know, with Linda and I, because there's so many different art forms that's involved in that, and everything from needlecraft to knitting to crocheting, stained glass. I recall, Linda, my years with the college, and I know you do as well, we used to have art shows there, and just hundreds of folks would come and hang artwork in the hallways at the college, and some of that artwork was phenomenal. I mean, they spent long hours of time. The question is, how is that stuff judged? I mean, do you have a cadre of experts? I mean, certainly I'm just trying to, because I'm sure folks looking at maybe saying, well, I want to get involved in it. I don't want to play basketball, or I don't want to, do a physical thing, but I might want to show my artwork. Tell us how that works.
We do have a Silver Arts coordinator, Doris Snyder. She works with the Spring Lake Senior Center. Okay. And all the artwork goes to Doris. And we do have about 4 judges that come in and privately judge the material, and they use score sheets, and the points are tallied, and then the medals and ribbons are given to the top finishers in each subcategory.
So you have a process involved for each one of those categories that may or may not be something, and I'm thinking in terms of woodworking, Linda. I mean, first when you said that, the first thing came to mind. I know your husband Tommy used to do woodworking with ducks, decoys for ducks, and that was one of his hobbies. Does he still do that?
He hasn't done it in a good while.
He's going to hear his name on this show quite a bit. He's probably going to say, did he talk about me a lot? But
if it did not have the time limit on it, I'm sure he would enter some of his things. He has some of his things on display up at the small center right now.
He does. And I think you can see some of that at the small center. Plus, there's a lot of folks at some of the locations throughout the county, little country stores and this kind of thing, that have some tremendous kinds of things hanging there. What do we do? Is the registration fee the same thing for that as it is for playing ball or getting involved in some other part?
You can pay the registration fee and be involved in as many events, including Silver Arts,
so you could actually do both?
Possible.
You could
yes,
do multiple
yes,
right.
For the same fee. Now we do have event fees for golf and bowling, but those are payable on the day of the event to the site itself.
What is the largest participated event that you have with the local Mid-Carolina games, with the 3 counties it represents? What is the #1 event that draws more people to it?
Bowling singles.
Bowling singles?
Yes.
Wow. So, you have some limitations on location with that, because I don't know, is there a bowling alley in Clinton, Linda? I'm not aware of.
No, it closed a number of years ago.
How many people are we talking about that would be in competition for that?
Almost 200 bowlers in the singles.
I just find that fascinating.
I do too. I did not realize that.
That's tremendous.
Not quite 200, but almost 200 in our singles bowling. And we do our bowling out at Dragon Lanes on Fort Bragg.
Yeah. Is it because I know there's a lot of folks in the Cumberland County area that are into bowling. Is that where the majority of those folks come from? Demographically, I guess.
Demographically, we get a large portion of our participation through Cumberland County. But Harnett and Sampson, for our local game, we generally have between 450 and 500 participants, just our local game. And we receive about 100 from Harnett and about 100 from Sampson, and the rest come from Cumberland County. But we have, good representation from our entire region, I feel like. And we do have more of the events offered in Cumberland County and Fayetteville just because the resources are more there. But we are a true regional game, and we do offer at least 1 or 2 events in each of the counties that we serve. So for Clinton, they host our horseshoes and our shuffleboard event out at Royal Lane Park with the Clinton Parks and Recreation.
So folks from these other 2 counties would come to Clinton for that event?
Right, to play horseshoes and shuffleboard. And then Western District Park with Sampson County Parks and Recreation, they host our bocce
And that's in
tournament.
Roseboro?
Yes, in Roseboro.
Okay. So I think one of the things, Linda, I think is important for folks to look at here is the segue for business too. There's a plus financially, because if you've got people coming into town, whether it's 50 or 500 or 5,000, they're going to most likely, absolutely, they got to eat somewhere. They may stay overnight somewhere. So there's a positive business side.
Right.
Let's kind of back up a bit. There's other games that's involved, and we mentioned off air, and I was telling you about a game that I was not aware of that came to my attention this fall as I was talking to a friend of mine that lives in the western part of the state, and it's something called pickleball, and he was telling me it was all the rage. So I looked that up and found that Channel 5 has done a piece on that, and that it is one of the largest growing games in the state, according to the data, and one of the vortexes is in the Greenville area for something called pickleball. Tell us what pickleball is. It's a strange name for a game, and is it just for seniors?
No, it's not just for seniors, but it's a lot of seniors play it because it is not as demanding or as exhausting maybe as tennis would be, or some of these other games that it kind of relates to.
People are playing it everywhere, and it's got a funny name, pickleball, but the people who developed it just started kind of playing in the backyard, and they named it after their little dog Pickles. And so that's how pickleball became about its name. It's actually named after a pet dog.
So it had nothing to do with Mount Olive. Just want to make sure we clear the air on that. Okay? Named after a dog, and it kind of incorporates. Give us a sense visually how that game comes together and what kind of ball is used and what. I mean, it's somewhere across between what, tennis and paddle ball, or
it's table tennis and badminton, kind of a mix between those 3. You play it on a court that's similar to a tennis court. So for singles, you have the narrow, long court, and for doubles, you have the short, wide court. You use a paddle. It looks like a table tennis paddle, but it's larger. And the ball looks similar to a wiffle ball.
That's the balls that are plastic. It's got the holes in them.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And then the net is low, like a tennis net. So it is low, and it's a very fast-moving game. And the good thing about it is that seniors can actually play this with their grandchildren. I mean, people of all ages are playing pickleball. It can be played indoors. It can be played outdoors. State Finals has been offering pickleball for 2 years. Its second year. It is the largest tournament event for North Carolina Senior Games.
Linda, do we have anything local of that kind of game going on, or have you heard of interest in doing that?
I don't think so, but I have mentioned it to one of the gentlemen at the Recreation Department, and he said he would mention it to Jonathan, who is the Jonathan Allen, who is the Director of Recreation for the city. I don't know about the county, what's going on there.
How do you introduce something like that? For example, if you wanted to get more people aware and actually have maybe a exhibition game, is that something that would be possible, and how would you go about that?
Cumberland County has 3 or 4 different recreation centers that actually do offer pickleball for seniors. So you could contact the City of Fayetteville Parks and Recreation and find out which centers are offering that and the times and the days that it's played, and you can go out and watch. And I think that the people who are there love it so much that they try to get more people involved so that they can have, you know, more competition and more fun. So I'm sure that if you were interested in learning how to play, that they would welcome you and kind of help teach the rules. Or you can also find the rules at the North Carolina Senior Games website that we've already mentioned a time or two. It's ncseniorgames.org.
And we're going to post, for those folks that are listening or watching us on TV, we'll post that on the screen so they can actually pick that up. And of course, with the radio, don't be driving, call the radio station and they can tell you what that is. We don't want you trying to write it down as you're driving and listening to the show. The thing with this particular game is are you seeing an effort, not necessarily an effort, but maybe an interest outside of the arena of the 50+ generation that may be picking up on something called pickleball? Because you mentioned, I think, Linda, that even grandchildren could play with that, or maybe it was Tracy. Do you see other people picking up on that?
Recreation centers are offering it all over. I mean, not just in North Carolina. It is really a growing sport, and it's booming.
I have to admit, this fall was the first time I'd ever heard of it. So,
and another thing, it doesn't take up a lot of space. You know, a great big tennis court.
That's true. You can actually do it. You could play on a basketball court, probably.
You can play on a basketball court, and they do have transportable temporary nets that are very easily to set up and assemble. I think that they're fairly, well, they're not cheap, but they're affordable. And so you can get the net and set it up, and the setup and breakdown time is very simple and easy.
Heard it here on We Should Know, so that's important for folks to remember. We're going to take another break. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're talking about the senior games. We're talking with 2 folks that really know what's going on, Tracy Davis and Linda Combs. We'll be back in one moment. Stay with us.
What? How can that be? No way someone broke in and stole my TV. Unless I want to install steel bars, I'll call the experts in security. Star Communications is the one that I can trust to get the job done.
Yeah, the only thing worse than that is not feeling safe in your own home or business.
Call Star Communications now. We're your local security experts, from alarms and monitoring to automation and personal protection.
Word.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. We're talking about seniors today. We're talking about senior games. From a demographic study with UNC Chapel Hill, quote is, in addition to overall population shifts in the next 20 years, we will see a significant growth in the state's population of ages 65 and older. Between 2015 and 2035, we're looking at going from 1.5 million to 2.5 million people that are seniors. Folks are just living longer, and they're living healthier lives. Senior Games adds to that gravity. Correct, Tracy?
Yes, we do evaluations with our local games, and it's overwhelming the majority of seniors that participate in local games that say they practice for senior games. That's part of their weekly workout routine, and that they have either very good or good health, and they determine or feel that it's because of their participation in our local games and at the state level as well.
I noticed that there's a number of supporters of the North Carolina Senior Games, business people that supported that. I would suspect you get a lot of support from insurance folks and that kind of thing, because we're in a situation now with insurance that we need to keep people healthier as much as we can.
Well, Humana is a huge sponsor of the national, state, and our local senior games. So we're very glad to have them on board as a gold sponsor. And Life at St. Joseph of the Pines is also a gold sponsor. We also have some silver sponsors, Carolina Specialties Incorporated, J.D. Fuller Park Recreation Center, are some of our silver sponsors, and also we have Liberty Healthcare Group, and some of the folks that sponsor are Mary Grand Nursing Center, Southwood Nursing Center, and Liberty Home Health Care.
Linda, I want to try to get folks to see a bit different picture because when you're talking about, I'm getting back to you now, when you're talking about playing basketball, basketball is a pretty aggressive, aerobically dynamic sport when you get into it. So some people out there may be thinking, well, I don't want to get involved in I might be 50, but I'm not a senior. And I remember when I was 50 and I didn't think I was a senior. But to get out and actually do some of these things, you got to be in pretty good shape, especially if you're talking about basketball, correct?
That's right. When I started playing, Fred Holland was our coach, Alice Mathis was our captain, and they're both still right there. So that just shows you how people are sticking with it, and most of the people that started out on the team are still on the team, and we've gradually moved from one age bracket to another. When we started out, we were the 59ers, and now we call our team the long shots. But we're playing in the 70s bracket right now, and we started out in the I think it was the 65 age bracket. The 59ers came about because, you know, I'm not sure.
Everybody was 55 to 59 then.
Yeah.
I guess it
Y'all were
was.
the younger
Yeah,
team.
yeah. We were the younger team. So I guess. But when I came on the team, I think it was in the 60 to 65 group. So maybe they were just moving up because once we passed that 59ers is when we came up with the name the Long Shots. And we also have another team that's in the 65 to 70 group, and they are the Long Shots too. We're Long Shots 1 and they're the Long Shots 2. Good basketball players.
Wow.
They really are.
This started in 1983. You know, this has been around. This is nothing new. I mean, 1983, that's been a few decades ago.
That was in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, yeah.
Mid Carolina, we're celebrating our 30th year. So we started in 1986.
Before the state, yeah.
No, after the state.
Okay. So how did the Mid Carolina Council connect to say we want to do a local? I mean, I guess is that just kind of
when
the natural
began,
way?
North Carolina Senior Games it started with the North Carolina Division of Aging. The person that started Senior Games worked there, and they were in charge of a health promotion program, and it is what became Senior Games. And it eventually broke off from the Division of Aging and became incorporated. And so they developed it, and the first year it was just a state finals game. And then they decided that they wanted to grow it because it is for people who are competitive. But we want to look at people who aren't competitive too. We want to get everybody in because we want it to be a health promotion program. So if you're not that healthy, you check with your doctor and let him know that you want to participate in Senior Games. We have very frail people who are participating in Senior Games. They'll come out and do the fun walk, a 1 mile walk, and get a participation ribbon. They can roll it in a wheelchair and still get that participation.
There's no limitations.
There's no limitations. I mean, the majority of the people that participate in Senior Games, whether it is at the local level, state, or nationals, they do it more for fun and fellowship and friendships than they do for competition. But there are some of those who are very competitive, and that is why they, compete. But the majority of people, it's for the fun of the games and getting out there and meeting folks, like Linda has mentioned several times. It's the fellowship of your team, or going out there and seeing people on our opening day. Or for me, when I go to state finals, I volunteer at state finals every year. It's like a homecoming because I see people from all over the state, and I see them that one time of year. So it's a lot of fun for me to be able to see them and catch up with them on an annual basis.
One of the questions that strikes me is how do you message to people that maybe Senior Games is not just for people that's retired and don't have anything to do. It may be somebody that's 52 or 55 and has an active business. They could still participate. So it's not, I'm trying to paint a picture here because somebody's probably listening to the show or watching us and thinking, I don't know whether I want to get involved in that. That's for, quote, old people. But you've got a lot of younger people, and one of the things that you mentioned earlier was this idea of swimming. Swimming is also a very dynamic sport, and you talk about requiring some fitness to do that. Talk to us about swimming. Is that something that you see a lot of folks getting involved in?
Yes. We would love to have more swimmers, so we do our swim meet at the YMCA in Fayetteville. We get a lot of swimmers actually from Sampson County. I don't know if any of you know Thee Smith or Kenneth Eanes, but both of them are very, very strong swimmers, and they've both participated locally and gone on to the North Carolina Senior Games. And I know Thee, I'm not sure about Kenneth, but I know that Thee has participated at the national level and has won medals there.
What do you say to, as an ambassador, Linda, to folks that, again, are watching or listening, and they say, well, you know, I'd like to get involved and talk more about this. How can they reach you? How do they go about connecting? We've given them the ncseniorgames.org website, but how do they go about connecting locally with somebody?
Well, you know, you mentioned I was an ambassador.
Absolutely.
And there are 4 others. Joyce Hill, she used to play on the older basketball team. She's an ambassador, and she can be reached at 214-0531. Myself, I'm at 592-7761. Mary Jones and Pat Jones, they're a husband-wife combination ambassadors, wonderful people. 564-4670. And then we have Roosevelt Wright. And I don't have his phone number, but I understand right now he's not doing well. But
Okay.
he is officially one of the ambassadors.
And Tracy, they could also call you,
Yes.
I would think.
They can call me. My number, my office is in Fayetteville, but they can call me at 323-4191,
Yeah, put you on the
extension
spot with that.
27. I was about to give my cell
There
phone
you go.
number.
Go ahead and give us that number again, because
It's 910-323-4191, extension 27.
And for just so folks will know, you're also Sampson County girl, grew up in the Midway area, and
Yes.
in Spivey's Corner. So there's probably a lot of folks know who you are in that section of the county.
Yes, I grew up in close to Williams Lake.
There
My
you
great
go.
uncle owned Williams Lake, Clayton Williams, and born and raised right there. Sampson County is a wonderful place to grow up, especially out on the farm.
Absolutely.
Had a great childhood, but I do live in Fayetteville now.
We're kind of coming to the last of this segment. I want to make sure I give you some time to do a quick wrap up in case we've missed something. And Linda, I'll segue to you for any comments you want to make, things that we might have missed, or something you want to tell the folks that they need to know from the ambassador for the Senior Games in Mid-Carolina Council of Government.
Well, there are so many events. We certainly did not mention them all today. We touched on the headings of each of those groups. But I would say that if you're interested, to contact one of the ambassadors or call Tracy to get further information, to get more information, and then go to the www.midcarolinagames.com. Is that right, Tracy?
It's www.mccog.org.
Okay, and we'll try to put that at the bottom of the screen for our cable viewers, and also they can pick that up. We're going to hopefully have some things on YouTube as well, so we'll pick that up from there. Tracy, from your sense, what have we missed, and what does folks need to know?
Well, there are some track events, and we do have basketball and softball teams, both men and women. So if you're interested in getting involved on any one of those teams, you can certainly contact me, and I can try to connect you with the captain. And we still have lots of other athletic and artistic events. So if you're truly interested, please give me a call again, and that's 910-323-4191. And I'll be happy to discuss Senior Games with you because I love it.
It sounds like it. And Linda, if somebody wants you to speak to a civic club or something, you'll do that as well?
I would give it my best shot. I'm not as well versed as Tracy is.
Well, I think you do great with it. And again, I want to thank both of you guys coming in to sit down and chat with us about this. Always good to get new information, always good to hear about things happening that maybe we might not be aware of and need to be aware of. Thus the name of the show, We Should Know. Thank you for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching We Should Know and listening to us on WCLN Radio. We thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again next week on the radio, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.